What up, traders? What up, investors? I hope you had a fantastic Christmas holiday season. I know it was bittersweet. It was fantastic, but it's time to get back to work and start looking at some stocks. Took a little bit of time off, played some video games, hung out with the family, great stuff like that. But we're going to be diving into some interesting news. I did a very short video on Thursday. Sorry, the market was closed on Friday. But Alibaba. I always call it Alibaba as a joke, but anyways, Alibaba, which is very strange here, is dropped nearly $100 billion in market value in just a couple hours due to the fact of some regulations on the Chinese side. Okay, like does Chinese and regulations go on in the same sentence? It seems very strange. There's a lot of fog around on what's going on here. This is again ensuing that Jack Ma, the CEO leader, a person who created Alibaba, is coming under the gun, as they would say, from the Chinese regulations on some of his freedom kind of speech stuff that he's done in the last couple months. This was like a shot across the bow once we had Alibaba, who had a huge investment into Ant IPO, which is also was like a financial services company that lives and operates within China, also got stopped and was not able to. They had to completely cancel the IPO, and now they're delaying it, but it literally was supposed to come out like a couple weeks ago, but like a day or two before, the Chinese government just came in and just whacked it and curb stomped the IPO and just stopped it from going out the door. So again, it's very hard to get some very accurate information here, especially when you're looking under the shroud of the Chinese government. It's going to be very difficult to really find a true reason, and I don't think there really has to be a true reason to really be blunt and honest here. It's really just going to be coming down to it's the Chinese government, it's the social party, it's whatever is going to be best for the Chinese people or the Chinese superpower. So if you have someone, they don't care who it is talking about this radical stuff, they're gonna give you a little slappy slap around. But let's go ahead and just kind of jump into, because again, if you just search Alibaba share or news, you just see everything trying to crack down. We got an antitrust probe, why they lost $100 billion of market value, the impact of Alibaba's e-commerce sales are now blah, 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 Chinese launches probe against Alibaba, all these kind of shares on just how to really just saying like, hey, that Alibaba is something to get ready for. Maybe this is going to happen to the other Chinese stocks, because Alibaba is literally the top of the top, the creme of the creme, as they say, within the Chinese stock market. Again, it's wasn't the first stock, but it was one of the largest stocks and companies that were here in the United States. Was also very popular at the time it came out. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the chart, look at something that we found. We're going to be dumping into Tastyworks as well, and we're going to be looking at some of the options plays that we saw go out on Thursday, and we're going to be looking at how aggressive they are. Is it worthwhile? Like, what I don't own Alibaba stock right now. Is it a buy here? All this kind of stuff we're going to be kind of breaking it down to. So switching over to the chart here, you see here, what a day, right? This is really sum it up. Basically dropping from 255 all the way down to 210 at one point. Again, that was the very extreme selling going on there. Very much a lot of emotional selling, usually what comes out, because again, you kind of had the news kind of come out that evening of something going on, but it wasn't until the following morning what really just took it down substantially around like the 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. It just came crushing down. We're looking here at a 15-minute chart. It was not able to get past or cross the 8 EMA for some time. Basically, kind of coming down, hitting a key level again. If you remember, Thursday was Christmas Eve, so it's only a half day, and the market closed at basically 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it basically kind of just did somewhat of a, I would call it a dead cat bounce, and just kind of bruised and was really scarred and beaten up, trying to cross the finish line of the day, aka the market close of just being really ragged, beat, basically getting lemon squeezed in all its cuts. It was just not a good situation for anyone that was owning Alibaba. Some people could look at this as like, oh, this is a great buying opportunity, which is, again, I can see that how people look at that. But the thing I wanted to highlight was that the where I kind of said my little monologue in the beginning of like, we're talking about Chinese regulations. I don't know what that means. And I don't really think anyone knows what that means. And I think that's kind of a red flag. A red, like, no joke, a red flag with a star on it. Yellow? No, I'm just joking. It's just basically like, I don't know what that means. Like, even like if someone in the United States gets a federal antitrust probe, it's a little bit like, okay, these are the steps that were going to happen. Like, they're going to come back into court and say this thing, and they're going to get their thousands of lawyers against the government, and they're going to battle for a couple of years, maybe divulge some documentation, maybe get a little fine slapped on their hands, things like that. But for me, in my memory, I can't remember a last time that something like this has happened on Chinese soil. Like that's the thing that was a little strange to me. But that being said, without just taking the news out of it and just looking strictly on the chart here and some of the options activity that we saw going forth on the news of that day, which is somewhat telling at times. Basically, looking at this movement again, we hit the high of 320, but ever since that 320 limit, basically not even like a week before November, so the end of October, it's just been beaten down because again we had that IPO fail. Okay, then we had just a normals, like I think Singles Days wasn't as great as people thought. Again, that was like a Chinese holiday where kind of like a Amazon Prime Day, and that really didn't fail out well. It was kind of hovering around here and kind of bouncing around like that 250 to 260 range, but it just really broke down because it never really got above the 21 EMA here on the daily chart. Again, it did get a couple days, but it never really had a substantial follow through with the 5 and 8 moving averages really crossing through that 21 EMA. So that was a big kind of I wouldn't say a sign there, but it was just basically like, hey, wait for a potential movement here. Then we got kind of almost had a fake out. I'm not gonna lie, I almost bought here on like around the 250 range. Basically kind of holding that 200 EMA here on the daily side, but I didn't. Like I was just a little bit hesitant. But then coming in the following day with the news like this and a lot of selling, just look at that blue bar in the back. Like we're seeing an absolutely monster of volume here. Okay, let me just really kind of break this down. We're talking about 140 million. On average, we trade 20 million. Okay, so we had a substantial amount of volume coming in that day. Again, not even with earnings, we've seen these numbers. We're talking about 2.5 to 3 times the amount of volume that we have on earnings is what we saw on this news. So it's, again, very substantial. That's why a lot of people's eyes are on it right now, because again, like everyone's watch list or alerts or just went bing, 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 bong, pong, and really just kind of took off here and looking for really like, hey, is this a buying opportunity? For me, again, to give you my complete honest opinion is I have to wait. This is, again, I don't know if it's I have to wait for more news. Because again, I don't think we're going to get too much news because again, it's kind of a shutdown system in the sense of transparency with the Chinese government regulations. Initially, how low can this go? This can go to 0, but do I think it's going to go to 0? I don't think so. That's a little bit really extreme unless something really drastically comes out. Is it very, very much emotionally trade here? Yes, I think so. I think that emotional trade really set into place around that 215 to 210 because on how fast it came down to that level. Doesn't mean it can't go back down to that level, okay? I'm not saying that it can't hit 215 again. I think it could potentially even go down to 200 potentially, and even lower. But because if you look here on the daily chart, let's just actually really highlight on the weekly chart. Basically down to 200 to 280, or to 200 to 180 would be a particular extreme valuation for the company, because even on the weekly chart, we're having the 5 and 8 cross through the 21 EMA, and that's never a really good sign. And we already had one large red day, one that week back in the first week of November, then kind of like licked our wounds a little bit, and then another red day. That's usually not my favorite kind of cup of tea, no pun intended, and really just not really something I don't want to put my capital into, because again, there's just too many unanswered questions, and just I do trade the charts, but there's the news on this, and just the amount of mystery around it. It's just not my style. This is just too much going on there. It's not really something I want to be getting into. So again, initial support, I thought we was going to be coming down to around the 227 range, potentially the 200 to 205 could be the next level of support. Usually, this takes a couple days to kind of settle off here, but again, we could get kind of a rally up to around that 240 to 244 if we can get some movement going. For this really to kind of gain some legs, like a lot of things need to be answered again during the regulations of stuff, but this is something that you have to be very careful about. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of the trades that we saw come through. The biggest one that really jumps out is the January 15th of next year, 2021, the $220 put and call. So again, that's a straddle here. So we're going to swing over to Tastyworks here. So this is Tastyworks. This is what I use for trading stock, options, everything. I love it. If you want to help support the channel and check it out, I have an affiliate link down below. All right. So that being said, so just one of these, what is a straddle here? Basically, what the trader or investor is doing is like saying, hey, I don't know which way the stock's going to be going. I know it's going to be going up or down in a very drastic way, which I really tend to agree with, because again, I don't think anyone can really predict the direction without certainty, but this is a great way if you have the capital to really play a potential volatility move. Because again, with that, the IV and everything has expanded drastically on the stock, because again, it just got hit really hard in the face, and now the whole system is trying to reevaluate the stock, the company, and really putting in some insurance policies in the sense of what really could happen. And that's why you saw expansion of the range of where it could be flying into. With that being said, so buying the $220 call and put, again, playing the straddle, they bought 5,000 of them. So if you just wanted to buy one of those, that's $2,300. So with $2,300, you're going to be basically looking at this kind of movement here. So you're really looking for a drastic move up or down within the time frame of 19 days. So within 19 days, this trader expects it to move closer to 200, which again, we talked about just recently regarding some of those time frames and those levels we talked about. And to the upside is around $243 to the upside. So the investor doesn't make any money unless the call or puts move either downwards drastically or upwards drastically. So basically it has to move $20-ish, like $23 down or $23 up. And they're really betting on that move there. So they bought 5,000 of these. So we can just update this here on Tastyworks, and it gives us, basically it's an $11.6 million bet here for Alibaba to potentially go higher or lower. Again, really playing the theme of drastic moves. The only thing that we have to kind of keep very well aware of, again, that theta. So theta is that time decay here. For this one, if Alibaba doesn't do anything, it just stays at this level for the next 19 days, this trader and an individual group will be losing $250,000 a day. Okay, that's going to be pretty drastic, and that's a lot of theta. Again, if we just go back to something a little bit more reasonable, like a one lot, that theta is about $50, which again is pretty substantial. That's, again, of a $2,300 trade. It's pretty, again, very substantial. So that being said, this is what some of the large trades that we saw go through and really saw this kind of pinpoint out here. So some key takeaways before I let you go. Alibaba, really too many questions about it. Not really going to be touching something I can be getting into and really putting my capital into. Initially looking for basically maybe the low here to hold, maybe around 210 to 205. But if we get some substantially further selling, which I think we could, if we again really depending on some of the news stuff coming out around this, we could be seeing some substantial further downside to at least that $200 level. With that being said, we could again, they come out and they say, oh wait, sorry, we put the wrong probe in the wrong company. We apologize. We wanted to probe this other company. Sorry, pull your pants back up, Alibaba. We're going to be probing this company over here. So that being said, if we get a huge turnaround and whatever reasons that Alibaba pays the government some fine and just kind of gets them off their back. Here's $10 billion, just leave us alone. I don't know how it works. That being said, we could potentially get a rally to that 244 range, even to the 250. But I want to be very careful with that because, again, we could see somewhat of a dead cat bounce again, which that entails a pretty large rally up. They also call it like a bull trap, basically thinking that it could continue to rally, but we need to see substantial days because even after news like this of the government looking at an antitrust probe for any kind of country is kind of a large red flag, and we really need to get that cleared out before we can put any capital to come because it creates a very large question mark around it. Anyways, that being said, guys, please check out Tastyworks link down below. We have that affiliate link, and as well we have a Amazon shop, which I want to be updating. I have some books that I've been reading and some books that people ask me about, which I learned charting options, all kinds of things. That's there in the link as well. And again, guys, thank you, and I hopefully see you guys on the flip side. Peace.